Well, this was a film I was at least mildly anticipating. Hello, this is Mara Jade, and I'm here with another video, and Hollywood demonstrates yet again they cannot remake a film or a franchise without interjecting some form of sociopolitical narrative or agenda into it. Why they cannot seem to grasp the concept that the mainstream audience, the most people who would love to go to a film and just simply enjoy it, do not want to be beaten over the head with identity politics. Basically, the elitists in the ivory towers that is Hollywood are looking down on us unwashed masses and thinking that we need to be led to the path of so-called righteousness, of social justice warriorism. And when we say, no, thank you, we don't want that, we'd like to have our own opinions, we're racist or sexist. And look at this title from this article. Sharon Duncan Brewster confirmed as race and gender swapped Liet Kynes in Dune film, plus other heavy indicators film will be woke. So basically, if we were to criticize this character, we would either be racist or sexist, or both in this case. And why are you doing this to a character who, spoiler alert, suffers horribly and dies in the desert? Basically, a horrible fate for the character. You're making it a black woman. But I'm going to go into this article and give my 2 cents on this insanity that just seems to permeate all of Hollywood now. Oh my god. Okay, the upcoming Dune film will feature a race and gender swapped Liet Kynes with Sharon Duncan Brewster playing the character. I've never heard of her name until now, really. Not only will the character feature this race and gender swap, but comments from the cast and director indicate the film will be woke. The character had previously been portrayed by Max von Sydow, one of my favorite actors, in David Lynch's 1984 adaptation of Dune, a film I do very much enjoy. Carol Dobry, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, portrayed the character in 2000 Sci-Fi Channel's miniseries adaptation of the book. That was an okay miniseries. It wasn't exactly horrible, but it wasn't great either. Vanity Fair confirms the gender and race swap, sharing an image of Brewster as Kynes, seen below. Frank Herbert, Dune's author, described Kynes in the book as, quote, tall, thin, long sandy hair, a sparse beard. The eyes were that fathomless blue within blue under thick brows. White, tall, thin, long sandy hair, a sparse beard. Man. Okay, I know there are women who can grow facial hair, but seriously, that is describing a man. He further described the character, his long hair and beard were must. The blue eyes without whites were a darkness under heavy brows. He added, wisps of sandy hair protruded from it, matched by a sparse beard and thick brows. Beneath the blue within blue eyes remains of a dark stain spread down to his cheeks. A matted depression across mustache and beard showed where a stillsuit tube had marked out its path. Alright? He's describing a male character. Bounding in the comics first reported on a gender-swapped Liet Kynes at the end of July last year. So basically, like, this is not a new rumor. This has now just been confirmed. But that rumor was going around since last year, as indicated in that sentence, and I had heard it, and I had hoped it wasn't the case, but here we are. It is the case. Vanity Fair claims the gender swap is an intriguing change. I love that. Intriguing change. And that director Denis Villeneuve, I don't even care to pronounce his last name correctly at this point, updated Liet Kynes. I'm calling him Denis the Simp at this point, because I've seen some of his comments about this. Brewster commented on her role as Liet Kynes, indicating the film will be woke. She stated, what Denis had stated to me was there was a lack of female characters in his cast. A lack of female characters in his cast. He's adapting a book written by Frank Herbert back in the mid-60s. And he has a problem with the lack of female characters. And he had always been very feminist, pro-women, and wanted to write the role for a woman. Denis the Simp. Basically, a whipping boy for the Me Too movement at this point by saying this, or at least indicating this to the actress. And a man who says he's a feminist, sorry, big turn off for me. Brewster added, this human being manages to basically keep the peace amongst many people. Women are very good at that, so why can't Kynes be a woman? Why shouldn't Kynes be a woman? Why shouldn't Kynes be a woman? Because Frank Herbert written him to be a man! That's why! It's not like Denis, the simp, is creating a story on his own and deciding, hey, this character, this personification, can be both a man and a woman, so I'll make it a female. No, he's adapting a book, or he supposedly is adapting a book now, but no, it's not the case anymore. Why shouldn't Kynes be a woman? Faithful adaptation would dictate that he would be a fucking man. Alright, the director, Denis the Simp, would also discuss the film, describing its narrative as a critique of capitalism. He explained, no matter what you believe, Earth is changing and we will have to adapt. He then added, that's why I think that Dune, this book, was written in the 20th century. It was a distant portrait of the reality of the oil and the capitalism and the exploitation, the over-exploitation of Earth. I will agree with this to a point. It is not an indictment on capitalism. It was an indictment on humanity's over-reliance on the oil and basically a critique of the oil industry, because it was written in the mid-1960s, and at that point, two superpowers are going at each other, the US and the Soviet Union, and the last thing I would describe the Soviet Union as is capitalist. You also have OPEC, those petroleum exporting countries. A lot of them are from the Middle East. Would you describe that as capitalist? No, it's basically just an indictment on humanity's over-reliance on one singular resource, basically taking two families from the Dune series, Atreides and Harkonnen, vying for this spice, which is an allegory for oil. Alright? So no, it was not an indictment against capitalism, it was basically just an indictment against humanity's over-reliance on oil. And the superpowers who vied for that oil at the expense of their populations, in some cases. Alright? So it wasn't capitalism, it was the oil industry. That's what he was targeting. He concluded, today things are just worse. It's a coming-of-age story, but also a call for action for the youth. No! If you thought it might get better from there, think again. In the obvious puff piece from Vanity Fair, they describe Paul Atreides as Greta Thunberg, you fucking assholes. Anthony Bresnikan writes, think Greta Thunberg, only she's a Jedi with a diploma from Hogwarts. I want that little girl to go away at this point. The very sight of her face just brings up just such ire in me at this point. And to equate Paul Atreides to Greta Thunberg is just a slap in the face to Frank Herbert. The director also detailed changes to Baron Harkonnen, played by Stellan Skarsgård. He explained, as much as I deeply loved the book, I felt that the Baron was flirting very often with caricature. He continued, and I tried to bring him a bit more dimension. That's why I brought in Stellan. Stellan has something in the eyes. You feel that there's someone thinking, that has tension and is calculating inside, deep in the eyes. I can testify it can be quite frightening. Alright, fine. That's one thing I could see that I might agree with, the tweaking of the character, because the 1984 adaptation, Baron Harkonnen was relatively a caricature. As much as I enjoyed the film, I do agree with him to an extent on that. However, all this? No, it's not worth it. Okay, the film will also expand Lady Jessica's role, Paul's mother. Jessica is a member of the Bene Gesserit and is played by Rebecca Ferguson. Ferguson described her character. She's a mother, she's a concubine, she's a soldier. Fair enough. That's essentially what her character becomes in the books. She then went on to describe how the character will be different from the book. Denis was very respectful of Frank's work in the book, but the quality of the arcs for much of the women have been brought up to a new level. There was some shifts he did, and they are beautifully portrayed now. The fact that you had to be brought up to a new level? No, you're tweaking the arcs to suit a feminist agenda. I'm betting the fact that you describe yourself as feminist Denis, tells me that you are prostrating yourself again before the Me Too movement and you don't want to be their whipping boy, at least in this case. So you figure, I'm going to make a film that's going to appease different demographics, pander to different demographics in this case, by adding in tokenisms to characters rather than actually fleshed out story arcs. Alright, he does note that creating Dune is the most difficult thing he's done in his life. He explained, it's a book that tackles politics, religion, ecology, spirituality, and with a lot of characters. He then concludes, I think that's why it's so difficult. Honestly, it's by far the most difficult thing I've done in my life. Dune is expected to be released in 2 installments, with Frank Herbert's first Dune novel being broken up into 2 parts. The first part is expected to debut on December 18th, 2020. I will be avoiding that at all costs if the trailers indicate that anything in this article is true, because now it has ceased to be an adaptation. It is no longer an adaptation because there's nothing faithful really to Frank Herbert's work at this point. It is now a reimagining. It is a reimagining to the point where you're inserting your own narrative to appease whatever agenda you have, whatever beliefs you have, whatever current events are being portrayed now in society. You're bringing it to a work that should be timeless, should be universal, should be messages transcending all races, genders, and sexual orientations at this point, because God knows how many there are to the social justice warrior crowd at this point. But quite frankly, no, you are taking it and you are aging it right now by inserting current day politics. That's why these works don't age, is because they are universal, they are timeless, and they transcend all demographics. And when you bring it to currency, when you basically adapt it so it's reflecting modern day, you are aging it. You have now taken away its timelessness and just killed it. But at any rate, that's my thoughts on this. Like I said, I was mildly anticipating this film. After reading these comments, reading this article, I am now very much not expecting this film. I'm going to also wait until the trailers come out, because those will either confirm or deny the puff piece that was Vanity Fair, the comments that were made in the article, and so forth. I will wait to see what that does, but I'm very much, how shall I say this without being too harsh to the cast and crew? You've killed whatever joy I've had at this point. As I said, I was mildly looking forward to this film because I enjoyed the adaptations for the film. I enjoyed the book when I read it. It was years ago, and now, quite frankly, no more. No more. I'm just about done. I don't trust Hollywood at this point. I don't trust anyone working in Hollywood at this point to be faithful to any sort of works that they are making or adapting or at this point, because they are just reimagining them to fit whatever narratives they have. But at any rate, let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. Share on social media if you will. Let me know if you're planning on still seeing the Dune movie, or if maybe, like me, you're waiting for the trailers, because at this point, these comments have just killed, possibly, whatever anticipation level you had. But at any rate, again, this is Mara Jade, and I'll catch you on the dark side with another video. Take care.